Here's a nice rumor that I'm excited to hear about. There are murmurs of a Shadow of Mordor 2. Let's see. There was a stunt actress named Lauren Mary Kim, and on her CV, it said that she was working on a sequel to Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor. She's an ice stunt profile. Oh my. And she was doing mocap work for Shadow of Mordor, and it was, I guess, in connection with Blur, which are those guys who
do the really rad trailers.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah, Tim Miller, who directed Deadpool just now, was one of the guys who was,
really?
I think, one of the founders of Blur.
Oh, that's awesome.
And if you go back and look at, they did like they've done everything. They've done a lot of Arkham games. And
Shadow of Mordor came out in 2014?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was revealed in November 2013, and it came out September 2014.
I was just I remember being so annoyed that in 2015 we didn't have tons of games with the Nemesis system. I was like, please let this be the year where every game has a Nemesis
You're totally
system.
right. That's all we said.
And it never happened.
Well, that's because that takes a while.
Yeah.
Like,
But
I
it's
think
so
that's a thing.
good.
I think that's a thing that this fall and next fall we're going to
really
see.
hope
Do you remember
so.
it was like the Arkham Combat thing?
Yeah.
And then every game had the Arkham Combat.
Yeah.
I was right there with you because I mean, we were playing Shadow of Mordor in the office and we're like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And this needs to be put into like a Game of Thrones
Everything.
game, like
Game of Thrones.
a political game.
I was hoping that for Mad Max.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I was.
I wanted this in
Yeah.
a game about a high school, about like
Why didn't they put that
about
in
like
Mad
groups
Max?
of like cliques in high schools.
Yep.
using
Like
this.
Bully?
Yeah, like Bully, but with the Nemesis system.
Yeah, this is my bully, Steven Thugdouche.
Yep.
The unclean or whatever.
Seriously, what reason would they have had to not put that in Mad Max?
I mean, time. Like, I'm sure that system is relatively complicated.
Mad Max is
But you
pretty
can't
much
just
what.
pick it up and
Nope.
No. Drag and drop the game onto the
it's
other
same
game.
company, like,
I mean,
couldn't have been that hard.
I mean, different studios working on it, but
Yeah. I think they probably had their own thing down by the time that was happening.
I think the
true.
fact that Shadow of Mordor won like Game of the Year from like the DICE Awards, and like everywhere else was like, there's some
I
other
mean, it's
games.
because
to play.
technically that game is amazing.
Exactly. And it's one of those things that I don't think we fully understand, but people who make games were just like, how the hell did
true.
you do that?
Yeah. That was I guess probably like the sleeper hit of 2014 in terms of like
completely.
none
I mean,
of us
that game
really
had
knew
issues, but
yeah. Oh, for sure.
that part of it was just incredible.
And
was
I was definitely fatigued by the end of that game, but
Yeah.
there was 15 hours before that happened.
Yeah,
you
and it
know?
was tough because that was, it had a lot of elements of Assassin's Creed games and
Yeah.
a little bit of Watch Dogs and a little bit of Arkham, a
little bit of Far Cry.
Yeah, a little bit of Far Cry. Whereas, like, if Shadow of Mordor 2 is this year's Fallout 4, which I keep thinking something's going to be Fallout 4, as in it gets revealed at E3 and it's out in November.
Yeah.
And if it's this year's that, this is not going to be a fall with a ton of third-person games with those systems, because we're not going to get an Arkham game this fall, probably, I assume, and we're not getting an Assassin's Creed game for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think
And
Watch
so-
Dogs will be one of those Fallout 4 things
Totally,
this year,
yeah,
by the way.
yeah.
Even though it's all like I always forget when Ubisoft actually announces something because it's basically all but revealed by then.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like they're like, you're right, everyone. We are taking the year off of Assassin's Creed, and we're like, well, we knew that like 4
Kotaku
months
told
ago.
us that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about
was a-
like
was a-
Rockstar making the Fallout 4 of the year?
possibly.
Yeah, I mean, if
Red
Red
Dead.
Dead is that thing, and Take-Two has said they're going to have a huge presence
Yep.
at E3, so if they're...
Rockstar
Yeah,
hasn't
Red
been to an
Dead.
E3
Huge
in ever.
Christmas presents for us to pre-order. Get a
Yeah,
shirt.
I'm totally
just a
down for another
collection
Shadow
of
of
mugs.
Mordor.
Yeah.
if only
Mugs?
for
Mugs.
if only for all those characters in that game, because they're great.
Yeah.
Also, the weird thing that like you mentioned, it's like an Assassin's Creed game, but I was thinking it's just like an Assassin's Creed game, but where you're the only person that knows how to climb walls.
Yeah.
So everybody else would be like,
That is pretty much exactly what they sounded
Yeah.
like.
Also,
Yeah.
it was
They would
weird.
use that cool invisible bow.
But
oh
when-
the cool
yeah.
magic
Also,
bow, and
when
they'd be
That
like,
was so cool.
When you ran in that game, you roadie runned.
Yeah.
Remember you would
Like-
bend over and you would like...
That was
a
really funny.
really good
you could
game.
ride on those weird dogs.
And you'd hit over, like jump over logs, and you'd go faster for some reason.
Put bees all over my head
Well, and then your like enemy would show up, and he'd be like caw 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 caw, and you're like, oh no, it's Kaka the wrestler. Here he comes. You're like,
Oh, I
and then
love.
you're like, and then you shoot a beehive down. And he's like, oh, and he runs away.
Oh, fight a bees! You're
like, bees make him
Stingy,
stronger.
stingy, buzzy bees.
He hates the bees.
It's really messed
It was
up
so
how accurate
funny.
this is.
Yeah.
Like, this is just actually what that game
Yeah, like you would be in the middle. We could do
Every one
a
of those was so good. I've never
a
played
really
a
good
game that's just had those same entrances 1,000 times, and every time I was in a game.
Well, it was awesome because like when you were playing an Arkham game, you'd be beating up on 9 thugs and you'd just be hitting them in the head, and it would just sound like cars smashing
What
into
was
walls.
the guy's rat bag?
Yeah,
rat bag.
But they
God,
never,
that
they
guy.
never like you'd just fight 9 thugs and it would go away. But this one, you'd be in the middle of a fighting like 15 people, and all of a sudden it'd be like, you put bees all over my dog head. And then you'd throw water, and he's like, oh, I hate water.
And then like a cave troll would just show up and throw a rock at everybody. And you're like, where'd this come from?
Man, how many beehives did you use in that game?
Constantly
I
beehives.
used so many beehives.
Yeah, that was a good thing to do.
That's a good game. Just blowing up stinky gas. They get all upset about it.
You threw a big fart bag in my face again. I'm sorry, blew up the dogs. I'm allergic to me farts.
I think you could poison their grog, and they're like, "Oh, sorry,
yeah.
poison the water."
Actually, like,
And then they start looking for you.
I really love the stealth element of that too.
Stealth
like,
was great.
they'd be like hanging all like 15 dirty boys hanging out in this like big messed up abandoned church cavern with no roof and just bats and crap everywhere and just going,
With the stealth missions, if you screwed it up, you could just run.
Yeah, you
like,
just
you'd
run
be like,
quick.
well, I'll be back later. Like, you could just, like,
What I love is that like you'd screw up on that.
All right, I'm done.
And like you're
So loud.
like you could accidentally like make someone stronger by getting away.
yeah, which was the worst because they'd be like, see, he got scared away. See how tough I am? And then everyone else would like him and he would like be like he'd level up and you'd see him
Yeah,
again.
he
and he'd have
became
this
their new king.
Sweet armor and you'd be like, damn it.
Dog stinks.
it looks like it's got that boy over there. Well, make you a new president.
All right.
That's actually how America votes on its president. Is who can scare the most boys away.
That makes sense. Yeah.
If you'd like to let us know how much it annoys you when Brian and I do that voice, you can shoot your emails to beyond@ign.com.
That's
and
right.
We sometimes read them and get sad.